There we go. We're live.
Right.
Um, hey, everyone. It's Laurie from Second Wind, and I am here with Travis Bort of ABC Creative. And we're going to just have a little dialogue session to talk about what's been facing agencies these days. Obviously, times have been challenging, to say the least, for many smaller to mid-sized agencies regarding what's been happening with the COVID virus. And I've been fielding a lot of calls, been having a lot of conversations with member agencies about just what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to plan? How are we supposed to move forward amidst all of this chaos? So, in addition to some of the other things that Second Wind is doing as far as creating content and pushing that out, we did a recent survey, which we're going to get the results out to you in the next day or so. I thought it would be nice to have just a series of interviews with other agency owners and with some industry experts so that we can really hear their perspective and what they've been doing to try to deal with this event, which is really unprecedented, I think, in many of our lives. I wouldn't consider myself young anymore, so to speak, but still in 50 some years, I've never seen anything like this. I know that it will pass and we will come out the other side, but in the meantime, as all of this kind of unfolds, I think listening to each other, tapping into resources, and just being there for one another will help a great deal. So we don't have to feel that we're isolated and alone and trying to make all of these decisions by ourselves. And again, that is one of the things that Second Wind tries to do for you, is to bring this information to the forefront. So I would like to thank you, Travis, for being here today and spending a little bit of time with me. If you would, just for a minute, tell the folks a little bit about your agency, location size, what you focus on, years in business, etc.
Hi, Lori.
Hey,
Um,
Travis.
yeah, ABC, we're located in Syracuse, New York. So we're right smack dab in the middle of New York State. I've got 15 employees currently. I've owned the company since 2005, but it's been around since I think it was founded in 86 or something. So I joined the firm in 96, 95, 96, and then
Mm-hmm.
bought the original owner out in 2005. So again, 15 people. We have a diversity of clients. We do a lot in tourism, which is fun right now.
Yeah.
Some financial and some organizational stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. How would you say things are? I know that as this unfolded, Jenny or someone in the office either saw some steps that you had taken through blog posts or other communication, but I mean, how are things right now? I know you have some tourism clients, you have some other
Yeah.
types of clients. Just in general, what's the state of things at the moment for your agency in particular?
Surprisingly good. Once we made the transition with the software and figured out how we were going to work from home, and obviously there's some communication hiccups there. But once we got through that, we're doing surprisingly well.
Yeah.
We started working remote on the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of went into the office and we were all kind of standing around that morning looking at each other like, what the hell's going on? What do we do? And then we started noticing some other companies were kind of closing down. So we just made the call. And
Yeah.
during that day, everybody was, just packing everything up that they thought they were needing and bugging out.
Yeah.
We implemented Microsoft Teams as
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways that we communicate. And we were already on the Microsoft suite. So we
Yeah.
downloaded that, got it on everybody's computer.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be working well. And then we use Zoom for some of the larger meetings if we want to get everybody on. So yeah,
Right.
it's surprisingly going well right now. We'll see.
Mhm. Okay, okay. And you made that choice to go remote electively, even though you're in Syracuse, which is far removed from really what's happening in New York City, which
Yeah.
is just beyond unfortunate at the moment. You're still under Cuomo's mandates, being so far away from the city, but you really made that choice electively prior to anything going into place.
Yeah, yes, we did. We
Yeah.
just, I don't know, it just seemed like the right thing to do. And, we really kind of had a conversation with everybody and just said, are you comfortable with working from home? Do you
Right.
think we can do this? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, so you had prior really all been coming into the office. You, I'm assuming, have had a little bit of remote work if people are need to stay home or can't make it into the office due to weather. Or, I mean, certainly up in Syracuse, that's
Yeah,
an issue.
that happens more
But
more
this is
often than
really
it
your
should.
first full-on remote
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. I mean, I get the remote thing and I think it works for some people, but we've always just been an agency that likes to get all together
Mhm.
in one room and kind of whiteboard and hammer things out. And that works best for us.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are the occasions when somebody will work from home, but we've
Mhm.
never really even had to do video conferencing heavily or anything. Even most of our clients are even within drive time, we can get to any of our clients within a
Right.
few hours. So we never had to really implement it full time.
Right. Right. Okay. And
Yeah.
you're saying that the tools, you made sure that you downloaded Microsoft Teams. You were already on the Microsoft platform. Everybody, assuming, had some level of equipment that they could take home in terms of laptops. So one of the keys, I guess, you can share with the remote is making sure you have the right tools.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, there's probably some other people that probably should have had some laptops that didn't, because there were a few people that were lugging towers out the
Sure.
doors and things like
Sure.
that. Mostly our graphics and video department,
Right.
but
Right.
they got it figured out.
Okay. All right. That's good. So remote, one of those changes that you made. Other changes that you made in the short term, I mean, electively regarding clients or financials. I mean, were there other things that you've kind of been doing between then and now as you're watching the situation unfold?
Right now, fortunately, we haven't. Like I said, right now everything is good. I'm
Yeah.
worried about what's going to happen 2, 3 months from
Yeah.
now, obviously with the economy and whether that comes back and whether people
Right.
start, our clients start tightening their belts there.
Right.
But with that said, I think we've been so busy not only helping the clients that need to make some kind of messaging about COVID and
Mhm. Mhm.
announcements and those type of things, but particularly with the tourism industry, there's a real opportunity for a lot of them, especially
Yeah.
drive time
Mhm.
tourism destinations. Like we work with the
Mhm.
Baseball Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
that's a drive to destination. So we're hoping when this breaks, if we can do a lot of things now,
Yes.
to promote that. And that's where we're trying to get creative. Myself and the account managers are trying to look at every client and just kind of get creative and say, what can we do now for them to help them when they come out of this? We have
Yes.
a financial client that, and I think we had a brief conversation that hinted to this, Laurie, before we got on the recording, that the financial client right now we're trying to get them to promote home equity line of credit loans
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
everybody's stuck in their house, staring at the walls, wanting to repaint that room or maybe add on because it's a
Right.
little tight all of a
Yeah.
sudden. So we're just trying to look at every client uniquely and say, what can we do to
Mhm.
rid this and take advantage of it when we come out?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that brings me to the topic of clients in general. I mean, how have they been reacting? I mean, you're obviously being proactive and trying to stay in front of them. What were some of their immediate reactions, keeping in mind that things have been relatively good for the agency? I mean, were there any clients that you felt you needed to talk off the ledge in any way?
No, so far we've been very fortunate. Now, first of the month is coming up when all the invoices go out, and
Right,
we'll see who pays them. But
right.
for the most part, no, everybody's been pretty good. We do have one manufacturing client that had to kind of shut down everything they were doing and send everyone home.
Hmm.
So they're not even producing any product right now.
Right.
However, their products are not mass quantity. One of their one system is millions of dollars.
Hmm.
But yeah, so far so good. The financial industry right now, believe it or not, is sometimes does better during these
Yes,
type of things.
yes.
Tourism is generally like grant funded and government funded, so they already have those monies allocated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. We do have one organization that is primarily in the first responder emergency services
Yes,
realm that
yes,
is kind of
yes.
getting hit hard. So so far
Okay.
so good.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to a couple of other agencies who, certainly have clients that are in different positions. And I mean, I think
Yeah.
what you're saying is even now things are good. You're still talking about revised messaging. You're still talking about the future. You're still talking about keeping things moving. Another agency mentioned to me for their clients that have really been tightening the purse strings or kind of closing them all together, they've been trying to provide as much consulting that they can without necessarily incurring hours, trying to show some goodwill now so that on the other end, when we all come out of this, the clients say, listen, you were there for me. I'm going to continue to be there for you.
I've found on a couple occasions I've been able to build the relationship with our client even more on a personal level, by understanding where they're at and where they are emotionally and kind of connecting with them, not in an opportunistic way, but just because we're all going through this together, we've just kind of built a stronger relationship.
Exactly.
Plus you're communicating to somebody now in their home or on their cell phone, and it's just becomes more personal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've definitely taken on more of a consulting role and just being there. One of the other things that I've been encouraging the account managers and the people that talk to the clients every day is tell them everything we're doing. We have a tendency to just do our work and, all we share with them is the results or the analytics. Why don't we share with them how we tweaked their website today because of COVID, or we changed this campaign subtly because of this opportunity? Just communicating to them everything we're doing now. So yeah, when we do come out of the other end of it, they go, wow, we're really glad we had you. Right?
Yeah, that's interesting. So incorporate them more in the process.
Yeah.
So while you haven't maybe completely modified your processes for the situation, you're encouraging clients to understand maybe a little bit more about what you do, so they have an affinity for understanding why you're making certain changes or why you're implementing certain things, which again I think brings them closer to you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Definitely. So we talked a little bit about clients. I wanted to really find out if clients had pulled back on budgets. It doesn't seem that they have, although you alluded to the fact that end of the month is here. Invoices are going to start coming due. We'll see how the cash flow maintains over the coming weeks. If not, have you thought about, or have you done this at any other time in history where you have encouraged payment terms or implemented any kind of discounts for clients? I mean, is that something you would consider, or other agencies should potentially consider if cash flow tends to come to a little bit of a halt?
Yeah, I stopped taking a paycheck personally, and I have one other executive in the office that just stopped taking a paycheck personally until we can't anymore. So that's one thing we implemented. I did already have conversations with our banking partners and things like that. Fortunately, we're okay for several weeks if nothing else came in. But I know that hasn't always been the case. As I mentioned, I bought the company in 2005, and then 2008 happened.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, as far as payment terms, we have every agency is going to tell you that they don't get paid real quickly. They have those certain clients and all those things. So, it's a little bit of a money's in the bank kind of thing. We hope, okay, if you're going to tighten now, what can we do now? Because then we know we're going to get it later.
Right.
And I know there's not that $10,000 is a great deal of money for everybody, but I know there's some loans coming out, SBA loans and things like that we're already looking into just as a buffer.
Yes.
We may not ever have to. There may come a point where I'm like, I could have taken a check every week, or we could have done this, but I just figured, why don't we do everything now so we don't have to scramble later?
That's right. There is always the opportunity to make that up at some point down the road, but why put extra strain or potential pressure on the agency now if you don't have to, if you're fortunate to be able to kind of sustain that. And obviously, I think in conversations I've had with most agencies, the ideal is to keep everyone employed. If possible, not only because, we don't want to see people not having jobs, but we work so hard to find the right people for the agency. We work so hard to train that this attrition makes it difficult to react quickly when things start to bounce back. So I don't know if you agree with that or have a comment on that, but I think if you can work it so you can keep people employed, ideally for the agency, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's our number one goal. That's why I'm not taking a check so that
Right,
they can get paid. As an
right,
agency, what's our number one expense? Payroll,
sure.
and maybe rent. Uh, yeah, and it's funny because even if you talk to, if and obviously most of the time you're gonna get rid of the lower tier, people that haven't been there as long or
Correct.
whatever, maybe not making as much money, maybe they're a little more green. Even if you lay them off and you really don't want to, and you're doing it for all the best, you're trying to do it for the best reasons, they still don't take that real well later. When you say, "Hey, you want to come back?" They're like, "Yeah, no, you kind of fired me." So
Yeah, yeah,
it's tough.
it
We were
is. And I
actually
mean,
just in the middle of a hiring. We were trying to hire like two or three different.
mhm.
The week this all happened, I had 4 or 5 interviews set up that we just kind of just put on
Yeah,
hold. So it's
yeah.
kind of disappointing.
Which makes sense, and I know that the same may not be true for every agency. It really depends on each agency's specific position at the time something happens, and you have to evaluate and
Oh
really
yeah,
make the best decisions that you can at that moment. Down the road, you may look back and say, maybe that wasn't the only way I could have handled this. And I understand that agencies do the best to make the appropriate decisions at that time. So it may not be true for everyone that they can hold on to everyone. So I think if you can, ideally, there's other things that can be done across the board, salary cuts, other unnecessary expenses for the office, like cleaning or lawn maintenance and things like that, subscriptions, some of those things that we can really kind of take off the expense, off the expense account to open up some of that money to allow us to keep our people employed, I think would be a good strategy if it is possible. If not, certainly I think the CARES Act has addressed unemployment and is
hmm
going to offer to those unemployed some additional benefit. So
yeah,
I think, we have that to look forward to potentially, but it's there to take advantage of if needed. If not, there are certainly other things I think that agencies can do. And it sounds like you're trying to do all of those before having to make any of those other decisions, obviously.
yeah. Trying to. As you
Yeah.
know, I'm much better on the creative end than running a business. So
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think I've
let's
known you
try
long
this.
enough to know you're doing a damn good job. So,
I just hire smart people.
well, hey, that's what they say. You got to surround yourself with the best. So, you mentioned earlier in terms of keeping clients going, you've tried to do some things that are specific to this crisis, COVID specific messaging, et
hmm
cetera. Are there other things that you're offering to clients now that may go outside your normal wheelhouse when times are good?
I don't think so.
No.
I At this point, I don't think we've had a need. At this point, we're fortunate that our clients know what we do and what we're best at and when to call us and what to ask us for. I can't tell you that deadlines have become a lot shorter.
Yeah. Really?
So, eh, but the funny thing about working remotely is I've been finding that a lot of our employees are working at night and on
Sure.
weekends,
Yes.
and it doesn't really bother them that much.
Right.
If I would have asked some of these people to come in on a Saturday or Sunday, they would have killed me before. But now they're
Yeah.
like sending me emails with artwork. Hey, check this out. I got
Yeah.
this done, and so
Yeah, I think it is interesting. I mean, certainly it's unfortunate parents with young children where there's
yeah,
no school or no daycare. It is going to be very difficult for them to work during the day. So I think once the kids are tucked in,
yeah,
you can find some quiet time to get some work done. And I think this is an interesting experiment for agencies who have not embraced remote
yeah.
to see that it can work if necessary. Not that everyone suddenly is going to abandon their workspaces and go to a remote office. But I think, for those that have not really tried it much in the past, this shows that we can if we need to.
Yeah,
So we might see some
the,
changes.
the biggest hurdle we had was just And if I had any suggestions for an agency, obviously it's kind of late. They're probably all locked up now anyway. But identifying what form of communication equates to what you did in the office.
Okay.
Like for instance, if we are sharing artwork with each
Mhm.
other face to face, then we're going to use video conferencing. Don't
Right.
start now attaching it to some team chat and saying,
Right.
"Hey, here it is. Let me know."
Right.
So just like equating, like if it's this type of meeting, we do it here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Those are the hurdles we ran into, especially the first week and a half, is just knowing when to communicate what and where.
Right. So a discussion of processes. And have you been able to access your project management system, your
Yes.
timekeeping system? All of that, I'm assuming, is available via the web
Yeah.
through the platform. So at the very least, you're able to continue tracking and collecting data as well.
Yes, I do. One of the things we implemented was just a daily update every morning at
Mhm.
8:30. Myself and some of the executive team or some of the people that run their departments. It's about five or six of us just get on a call and we
Yep.
go through that software. I mean, it seems like it's a little monotonous at times, but
Mhm.
we literally go through every single task, subtask,
Yeah.
and read through every one and just say, hey, is everybody good? And then we have a quick chat and go about our
Yep.
day. But that's something we implemented that I think might even carry over into what we do when we go back to
Mhm.
work. So
Mhm. So you're still having morning meetings, the quick one, review the day's agenda, the tasks that are hot, any information that needs to be exchanged. I think a lot of agencies do that, but especially when we're remote, I think it's more important than ever to
yeah,
maintain that communication. Because we're home, we're outside of the office, we can't shout down the hall if we need something. We have to make a proactive attempt to communicate with somebody. And I think in order to keep everybody on the same page, those communication tools, as you said, and discussing versus it being a free for all. I'm communicating via email. I'm
yeah,
communicating via
yeah,
text. I'm communicating via chat. Deciding on those vehicles that you're going to use for what purpose, I think
yeah,
can help streamline everything. So when you get back to the office, you're not checking 50 different vehicles for messages that are all over the place. So some centralization.
yep,
Obviously, we're going to have to come back to the office and pick up where we left off at some point. We want to make that job as easy as possible as well.
yeah.
So, a couple more things just want to chat about for a couple of minutes. New business. A lot of agencies are saying, everything is just completely stalled. Have you found that? Have you stopped, or are you continuing that wheel in motion at some level?
We probably had three project clients that we brought on just before this happened. So we got the project, we got the client, we started working, we had these, discovery meetings and the research and all that. So I've got about three projects right now that I can't even get like
Yeah.
truly in motion without,
Yes.
so new business right now, yeah, we haven't really done anything. I can tell you though, we've tried to do some fun stuff on social media through all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten two different people that are not clients but are
Mm-hmm.
associates that I would love to be clients,
Yeah.
that have actually taken the time to reach out and say, "Hey, we really love what your company's doing on social. It's funny. It
Yeah.
looks like you guys are doing a good job and hanging in there and all this stuff." So hopefully,
Good.
maybe just by being positive
Yeah.
and encouraging and maybe supporting our local companies and
Mm-hmm.
showing how we're doing
Yes.
that,
Yes.
maybe that'll people will remember us a few months
Yes.
from now when they're ready to hire somebody. But I don't
Yes.
think anybody hiring an agency right now.
Well, I think you'd be surprised. I had a
Really?
few conversations in a few industries where we're starting to see spending, and some of them are unfortunate. The funeral industry, for example.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are all dealing with the result of this crisis, but an agency said to me, I work in this space, and they are spending. And I don't
Yeah.
disagree. I've seen a number of ads, even in our local market on TV, for homes that I had not seen at all. So there are some industries that will maybe not suffer as more as others. And I think while it still may not be the time for new business, if you have relationships or some of those clients in those industries are dormant, you could potentially reach out to them and
Yeah.
see how things are. The grocery industry is another one. The food distribution industry is another one. Paper
Games,
products.
puzzles.
Exactly. Anything that's kind of related to what we're all experiencing now, those industries seem to be holding tight at some level. So agree, our traditional new business initiatives are probably not going to see the fruits of our labor like we're used to, but there may be some ways to think about how to attack this from a different perspective.
Yeah, good.
So anything else that you're doing that you'd like to share? Anything regarding watching kind of the financial picture of the agency? Have you found yourself looking and planning in shorter increments? Are you looking at the financial data more regularly just to kind of keep your pulse on things? Any advice regarding that?
No, besides the immediate knee jerks that we did, the cutting payroll and things like that, and in those things, we kind of set those aside and said, okay, here's what we're doing now, and now we got to see what happens once the billing goes out. And
Mm-hmm.
we're communicating to our clients all the time, so we don't foresee anything major happening there. But again, it depends on how long this goes out and what effect it has on the economy, and then we're definitely going to have to look at things, as far as the financials go.
Yeah, yeah. And some agencies I've talked to are looking in very short-term increments. So they're projecting for the next 30 days what the cash
Yeah,
flow looks like, the next 60 days, the next 90 days. And if it's not coming true, then they've got to think about making some of those changes. So maybe a more
yeah,
regular look. Normally, we obviously want to look at our statements every month, a few days after close, if possible. I think that frequency probably needs to be ticked up a little bit
yeah,
during this period because things are
yeah,
changing so rapidly, not only I think for agencies, but for the economy and for what's going on across the US. Any bit of news from the federal government or
yeah,
otherwise, our state governments seems to send people into
yeah,
either a frenzy or a panic one way or the other. So more frequency on that,
yeah. I
I
agree.
think, I think will help. So other than that, I know we talked a little bit before this interview about some of the topics we were going to discuss. Do you have anything else that you've jotted down that you'd like to share with anyone during this time?
Yeah, I mean, a couple unique things we're doing is, well,
Hmm.
maybe not unique, but we're trying to keep morale up. We do virtual happy hours
That's
using
good.
Zoom.
Every day?
Um, not every day, not well, I have a happy hour every day, but not
Right, right.
everyone. Um, so we did that. That's been very successful. We
Yeah.
our internal social media team is doing things where they're sharing things on social that people are doing to keep busy or whatever,
Hmm.
what music they're listening to, what movies they're watching. And I found myself, our industry isn't one that's known for overly praising their employees, but I find myself needing to do that a lot more.
That's good. Good advice.
We're still all on the video conference calls freaking out and,
Mhm.
trying to figure it all out. But yeah, I find that it needs a little bit more thank
Yeah.
yous and pleases than it
Hmm.
normally does when you're just running around
Yeah.
the office. Because, you know, in this industry, we also have a lot of young people working for us. I mean, I have several young people working for us,
Hmm.
and you can just tell they're freaking out and scared too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, try not to make it too hard on them.
Hmm.
It's hard enough industry as it is.
Yeah, for sure. And for the younger people, they've probably never experienced anything like this.
No.
And compared to someone like you and I, who's been through other things in the past that have affected business in one way or the other, you don't become immune to it, but you kind
Yeah.
of get used to those ups and downs and the uncertainty. And I think that is difficult for a generation that's never really experienced anything like that, particularly when they're in the workplace.
Yeah, and I don't think they really understand the ramifications of how it affects each individual person and the trickle down, if you will, and all those things. So it's hard because you want to tell them that. You want to say, look, if you're not billable somehow, we may have to make a decision to cut you.
Right.
But that's terrifying, right? So it's hard and it's not a subtle message that they
No,
understand, but
no,
yeah.
not at all. So, anything else?
No, I think No,
All
no,
right.
just hang in there, stay healthy, be safe.
Yeah, yeah, my sentiments are exactly the same for everyone around Second Wind and for your team as well. And as I said, just to kind of hear from other agency principals during this time, I think is important so that we can really see what's going on outside our own lives. We're so laser focused, I think, on our own businesses and our own lives right now that we have to take a moment to kind of understand really the landscape. And I was encouraged by the survey results.
Good.
Again, that we're going to compile and get sent out today or tomorrow. The majority at this point in time feel that they've been moderately impacted by this crisis. So, I mean, I don't think we'll be able to say the same in 6 to 8 weeks if things go on like this.
Yeah.
That's going to put us in a completely different boat. But I'm hoping that we are going to see some of this alleviate in the shorter
Yeah.
term versus the longer term, and we'll be able to bounce back maybe more quickly. So I am
I'm
encouraged by that.
I'm gonna be interested in maybe Second Wind could help like a survey after this is all over. I'm gonna be
Yes,
interested to see how it changes
yes,
the way we do business when we go back to doing normal business.
yes.
I think I don't know if it's gonna improve, make it worse. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yes, I think that would be some good insights. And I would like to do, if I can, this initial check in and then a check in maybe in at the most 30 days to see what's going on, depending on how all of this plays out. And then a third round at some point in the future, not too far in the future, so we can really see once things have calmed down. Do we suddenly have a bunch of agencies working remotely?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Or have suddenly a bunch of agencies added crisis communications
Yeah.
and crisis PR to their list of services.
Hmm. Yep.
So I think that is a very good point. That to see what's going on today is important, but to also see how this is going to develop, where we're going to be in 30 days, and then where we might be in 3 to 4 months, to just kind of check back in and make sure everybody's okay first and foremost. But how has this really changed a smaller to mid-sized agency? So I agree, and that's going to be part of the plan for that. So I
Cool.
appreciate that. And I appreciate you being with me today, Travis,
Yeah.
and spending this half hour just chatting. I really appreciate your insight. I'm very glad that you guys are weathering this storm as well as you can at this point. And, as always, reach out if you need anything and
Yeah.
stay healthy.
You too.
Work hard, take care, and please send your best to my team for you.
I will.
For
Thank
me,
you, Laura.
rather, not for you.
Yeah. No, I got you. Thank you.
All right, Travis,
I
thanks.
will.
Have a great rest of the day. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.